Support for the show comes from Carolina Forward, a nonpartisan organization dedicated to building a more equitable, democratic, and prosperous North Carolina.
You can learn more about their vision and values at carolinaforward.org.
North Carolina State Highway Patrol.
What cigarette do you smoke, Doctor?
A contributing factor to our juvenile delinquency of today.
Rock and roll has got to go.
And welcome back to the Hometown Holler. I'm Daniel Ayers.
And I'm Quinn Ray. Well, hey, man.
Pumpkin spice and everything nice.
Oh, 'tis the season.
I don't know if this is going to go out like mid-October, early October, but it's late September, and I am in full fall mode.
They've already put out pumpkin spice beers, pumpkin beers happening a couple weeks ago. And when I was in the restaurant, they were putting them out in August, which really frustrated me.
So that doesn't bother me at all. Like, I will see Christmas at Lowe's in like August or September.
Well, I'm cool with that.
No, that pisses me off.
Oh, see, now you're wrong.
To me, Christmas cannot begin until after Thanksgiving.
See, I'm about Christmas happening all through Thanksgiving.
And you know why? I know why. Because you probably grew up going to the Burlington Christmas Parade, which happens like before Thanksgiving or something crazy.
It
like
does,
that.
but
So that was normalized for you.
But it's a happy season. But I was having this conversation with my wife the other day about how we're starting to see neighbors put up their Halloween decorations
That makes
already.
sense.
Well,
that to me seems reasonable.
Well, normally you don't see it until October,
right?
But I'm like, let's enjoy Halloween. It's one of the best. And she's like, well, Christmas has all these events. I was like, well, Halloween could have all these events starting in September.
It could, with the right attitude, with the right
see,
people.
See, but anyway, back in the studio.
That should be its own episode, by the way. Debating when holidays start and the merits of starting holidays at certain times. So if we need like a Hometown Holler spinoff at some point. But yeah, back in the studio.
Awesome episode today. Really
Super
excited about
awesome.
it.
Yeah, this episode comes to us courtesy of friend of the Holler, Dr. Sarah Squire.
Yes, I like her.
Who I was at an event. Dr. Squire was like, "Have you met Q?" And I was like, "The character from James Bond who like does all the amazing gadgets." And she was
when
like,
I
"No."
think of Q, I think of Star Trek.
You think of that? Okay.
Okay.
So again, this is another like I feel like this is like a Rorschach test. I say Q, I go James Bond, and then you go Star Trek.
Sure.
You guys are really seeing
like Rorschach
how
from,
Quinn and I tick with this. But I gotta say, our Q a lot cooler than the James Bond Q.
Fair.
So, ladies and gentlemen, friends of the Holler, today we have an inspiring guest with us, Quamekia Shavers, the founder of the Pink Vote. Known for her dedication to increasing voter engagement, Quamekia is working tirelessly to get out the vote in one of our state's most important political ecosystems. You guessed it, it's the Triad. Her innovative approach to voter outreach has made a significant impact in her community already this season. Quamekia, we call her Q. Welcome to the Hometown Holler.
Hey.
Thank you. Hey.
So you have quite a political resume. Like you like live and breathe politics.
You were a field director for candidates. You were a communications director, a diversity director, president of Young Dems of Forsyth County, and you're something with the North Carolina Democrats as well, like some type of communication chair or something.
I was the vice president of Forsyth County Women's Dems, and I also was on the Young Democrats of North Carolina twice. I was elected. I was the comms director, and then I also was VP as well. So.
Damn, that resume. Right. Yeah. So I'm just curious, how did you get into politics?
So my old principal, Dr. Tony Burton, ran for county commissioner, and he asked me would I volunteer for his campaign. He has always been a great father figure for myself, and so of course I did it. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, and overnight it felt like I was bit by the political bug, and everybody was like, "Oh, you're really good at this. You need to stick with this."
How old were you?
This happened about 8 years or 9 years ago.
Okay. So it wasn't like you're a high schooler doing this.
I was not.
Okay.
That's so interesting though that you got in on the local level or like the county. I mean, because I feel like most people, they see the top of the ballot election, they have a strong reaction. I love this candidate. I hate that candidate, and they get in for like national reasons. But this was like a hometown thing for you.
Yes.
That's super, super cool.
Did you when you were 18, did you go out and vote?
I did not vote until I think I was about 19, I believe, when Obama ran, and I was
Okay.
in college. And I actually grew up in a home where voting wasn't discussed. I didn't know anything about it, actually. And because I grew up in a community where we didn't discuss it, it was like we weren't a part of it. It was not even a part of our world. So when I was in college, my friends said, we're going to vote. And I said, okay, because, peers listen to peers.
Yeah.
And so my first time voting was at the illustrious Winston-Salem State University at the Anderson Center, which is why I'm so passionate about ensuring that that location stays in the voting cycle of the locations that they choose.
So you had it took a teacher to kind of get you involved with it, but you were voting beforehand, before you got involved running the campaign.
Yes. So I voted, but I wasn't involved in,
Young Dems or anything like that.
I was not. It was not until he asked me to be a part of his campaign, and I performed so well that other candidates, noticed that and said, hey, you have something here. So then I started becoming involved locally. And that's when I got involved with Young Dems, because they contacted me and said, would you like to be our president?
Well, what does that mean?
Right. So I'm a Leo, so very natural leadership skills. So I took the opportunity and so my first position in Young Dems was to be the president.
That's exactly what a Leo would say.
Yeah, and now you're I don't know what your official title is, president, illustrious leader, but you lead the Pink Vote.
I do.
That is your, I guess, kind of flagship organization right now. And can you tell us a little bit about what is the Pink Vote? What's the vision? What are the tactics? What are y'all about?
So the Pink Vote is definitely my baby. Most people correlate pink with women's rights, but pink is just my favorite color. And
So just the personal preference.
Personal preference. I wanted to stay away from the reds and the blues because I knew what I was going to do was going to be nonpartisan, because I felt like I would be stronger in being able to get assistance, like financial assistance and things of that nature. And so, because I came from the background of individuals not participating in the voting process, not ever hearing it in my home, I know. So when I approach them and when I'm talking to a certain community, which is the Black and brown community, I know exactly where they're coming from because I walk those same shoes. And then I also walk the same shoes of voting, but not really understanding the significance, not doing my research. My friend said we're going to vote, so that's what I did. And so then after that, voting became a habit. It became a reality for me. But I still wasn't like looking up candidates or doing that due diligence. It was like, okay, I'm a Democrat. I vote straight Democrat, period. And so now about the Pink Vote, which I love, is that we empower constituents to do that research, to see who shows up in your communities and who doesn't. See what they are truly about before you go into that booth and cast your vote for them. Are they truly the best person for your community, your district, your ward? And so that's what the Pink Vote is about. It's nonpartisan. I love it. I love what I do. I love when you see that you're igniting something in constituents. This is not about just getting constituents to participate in this election, because every time we always say what? This is the most important election.
It's a famous line.
It's a famous line, but at what point is it not important, right?
Right.
So we have to find a different catchphrase. And what I do is I find creative ways to correlate what people care about, what people believe doesn't connect to politics, and I educate them, I inform them, I enlighten them that guess what? This thing that you feel has nothing to do with you has everything to do with you, and your vote is powerful. You are powerful, and I want you to make sure that you use that power. I do not utilize what many people try to use to encourage African Americans to vote, like, oh, someone fought for this.
Right.
Although those are very significant movements, I saw that it was ineffective.
Is it because that leans into like guilt, or like why is that ineffective, would you say?
So I can't speak for everyone, but
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you why I think it's ineffective. If it's not a struggle that you went through, you are sometimes just completely detached.
Right.
And I think it's that detachment that, leaves that room there to not have compassion and empathy for that movement, because you didn't have to do it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. I was talking to one of my colleagues at work the other day, and he's a Black guy, and his daughter is ninth grade, one of the two. And he was trying to talk to her about the election and voting and the importance and how inspiring it is to see Kamala run for president. And she didn't bat an eye at it. And he was starting to talk about, Fannie Lou Hamer started talking about Obama. And, they don't see that struggle that people went through to get Obama into office. And so it didn't resonate with her how awesome it is to see this black woman that is.
She didn't have that historical context of just like, no, like, you got to understand, this is a big deal.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm so good at what I do.
Right.
Because I find the things that people care about, the people that they trust. So I'm also very active on my campus, on many of the campuses here in Winston-Salem, rather. And that's because I go through their peers. I could stand up and talk about things until I'm blue in the face. Now, there are many that trust me, and I have worked hard to gain that trust and to build that relationship. But I want you to know, every 4 to 5 years, that cycle of students are cycling in and out.
That's right.
And so what I do is I make sure I maintain those relationships with the leaders, the student leaders of the school. Right? And so once I have them locked in, then they do the footwork to help me encourage and to get the other students on board to participate in this process. So I believe you that, he was talking to his daughter, and if she hadn't been heavily exposed to the voting process, of course she didn't bat her eye, because now she's old enough to pretty much understand in more detail, and she's like, okay, this means what? And so that's why, for me, I'm very conscious about making sure I expose my children to politics. There's 8 and 9, and my eldest is special needs, but she's 20 years old and she votes.
Great.
She's nonverbal, but she votes. And I've also, started that movement at her school, at her high school, which is a totally special needs school. I registered all of them to vote, not only the last cycle, but this cycle as well. So it's about finding that connectivity. Once you find out what people care about and who people trust, you go to who they trust. You horn in on the things that they care about, because then you have their ear. And then when you show consistency and commitment to what you're doing, when people see that you love what you're doing and you legit, now you got their heart.
Oh man, you got me already ready to run through the wall. I mean, the way you're talking about it, I'm just like, yes.
I see you are good at your job. I see why you do this and how you do it. And one of the things about your strategy that you're talking about that is really speaking to me is like not just telling folks like, oh, it's important to vote, but it's important to be able to tell who deserves your vote, who's earning your vote, right? It's not just about going and, okay, I see this name on a ballot and I've seen some signs with that name on it. I think this person sounds like they're okay. But really having a sense of, oh, this person came to that ribbon cutting for this new business that we've been wanting for years. Or this person, I have a neighbor, and when this person's, at the VA, they were held up in line at some kind of red tape, and this person made a call that got them to see the doctor they needed to see. Like really saying, oh, this person deserves my vote. That's really cool. That
takes a lot of work.
That takes a lot of work.
Thank you.
And so how do you do these voter registration drives? Do you just set up pop-ups in a parking lot, or do you have big events where you have bands playing? Like, how does this work? How do you get people to come to you? I mean, I know you go to the people, don't you know?
I
I'm
feel
not
like
taking that away.
She drives around like a giant van, like a Scooby-Doo van that just has like the pink vote and like groovy letters.
I need one. I actually do need a van, but no, I do both. So I do pop-ups, and then I do scheduled events. Like I have a scheduled event tomorrow. So what I do is I know where the areas of low voting participation happen. So like I'm going to so it's income-based homes. And so I'm going to Piedmont Circle tomorrow, right? And I'm setting up right beside the rental office.
Cool.
And so really my secret is, and now I'm telling my secret, it's free food.
That's
Who does not love? And I don't just bring, little rinky-dink stuff. No, we have great food, because I love to eat. Don't I? I love to eat. Yeah. And so if I'm going to serve somebody with something, I want to serve you something with love, and that that I put effort into this. So free food is one of the big draws, because, again, we all love food. And if it's free, it's just like, oh, this is amazing. We have giveaways, because that's always fun, but my giveaways are always educational. So it'll always have the QR code attached to it, so that they're able to pull up the voting dates, times, and locations, and also a nonpartisan PowerPoint that I created with all the candidates on it, and also a sample ballot for someone who has never voted. You don't even know what the sample ballot looks like, right? So then I put that in there as well. So anything educational or anything that they can refer to when they get to the polls, if they get anxious or nervous, I make sure that all the giveaways have that educational component. And they love my cups. I don't know if it's because my face is on them, but they love my cups, and I got something really special for them tomorrow.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So I just love, I've been saying this, I've been saying two things for a long time. One thing I've been saying is that, you've heard me say this a lot, patriotism needs to be reclaimed. We can't cede it to extremists. And the second thing I've been saying is politics needs to be fun. Politics just actually needs to be something people look forward to doing. There's got to be good food, giveaways, you know, I don't, maybe do like, face painting or whatever it is, but it's got to be fun.
It is, and we have a DJ because I love music and I love to dance. I'm trying to create a movement around this that people from those communities believe that politics is two people or groups of people constantly fighting, and no one wants to get involved in that. Because think about it, in our regular lives, we have stress, we have things going on. So you mean to tell me I'm going to willingly get involved in someone else's fight? Think about that. And so that's why I try to make sure that the events are fun and lively. We have the big balloon arch. So now that balloon arch is a staple that they know when you see that pink balloon arch, you know that we're nearby and we're setting up shop.
Q is
come
holding
over and
court.
see us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I like it because, you know, when I've always thought about registering people to vote, everything, my first interaction with it was, here's a clipboard and go out and just try to register people. And you feel like you're the guy that's knocking on your door trying to sell you
so
solar
intrusive.
panels and
Yeah.
stuff. It doesn't seem fun, doesn't seem exciting, and nobody wants to come up to you because you got the black tie on and you're just like, no, come back again another day. But if I get a cup with Q's face on it and then there's a DJ, like I'm coming to that, right? And then I'm going to listen, because seeing that you put effort into doing this instead of it feeling like a chore because I want to save democracy, it really makes people, at least me, and I can see how it is effective, that people want to be a part of, as Daniel said, something fun.
Yes.
And even if they don't vote, they're registered to vote, they've been touched, and we still have to touch them 3 or 4 more times potentially, but we've got them.
The connection I'm drawing is what you're describing. I wasn't able to go. We weren't able to go to the Harris rally. We wanted to go and check it out. Quinn and I did, but we had a live event that night in Elon, so we couldn't make it. But I had some friends who went, and they were taking videos and kind of showing me what the vibe was. And it was a fun vibe. There was like free Ben and Jerry's ice cream. There were like, you know, there's a marching band from the local high school. People dancing, right? It sounds like you are doing a micro version of that kind of experience. Like, this is festive. This is a celebration. This is something for everybody. There's no fee for admission. We just want you to come my guess is when people go, is it like a hard sell? Like, you got to register while you're here before you leave? Or is it more of just kind of like, thank you for coming. We're really grateful you're here. Let me know if you have any questions and we'll be in touch.
So for my events, so we have these tables, right?
Yeah.
And so that first table, we want to make sure we get you registered to vote. So the first thing we do is we pull people up, because we don't want to triple and double register people,
Right.
because you know what that does? Which is one of those things I have to tell other organizations to be mindful of. These are already individuals who do not trust politics. If you are registering them knowingly multiple times, you know what you just did? You just built another wall of distrust for this process. And so I do not allow that at my events. So sometimes people think, oh, we had an event and only 68 people got registered, but perhaps we verified 100. Because the first thing we do is we pull you up in the North Carolina voter registration lookup system. If you're active, why would I re-register you?
Yeah.
Now I get the opportunity to scroll down, because one of the most fun things times that I have, and I love my community. I'm from that community and I love them. And they'll say, I vote every year. I say, it's not an election every year. And they're always tickled that I can scroll down and see their voting transcript. And that's a conversational starter. I said, hey, the last time you voted was the first time Obama won.
Right.
So look at me.
Let's talk.
Yeah. And it's always so funny. We make a joke about it.
Yeah, but even that sounds fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do, because I don't want to scold anybody. So
Right.
it is in a very joking way. And, it's a great conversational starter. And I say, hey, please. And another reason that I put my face on the cups is because I'm not doing all this work for nothing. I'm coming back to pick you up to go vote. That is the third layer of the pink vote. The pink vote starts with voter registration. The second layer, voter registration, is still included, but also candidate collaboration, because I want the candidates to come out and let these people know that they are, they're reachable people.
Yeah.
And that third level is, I'm coming to pick you up. So don't act like you don't remember me.
Right. Oh, that's so
So-
awesome.
Because you've seen my face.
Yes, and so many people were asking why was my picture on a lot of the promo. I said, first of all, because I'm self-absorbed now. But honestly, because I do want you to remember my face, because I'm genuine about wanting to come back and pick you up, and I want you to know I am a safe person.
Man, it's building a brand. And like you're talking about trying to find those student leaders on campuses, like to build that brand, you got to have that infrastructure, and it's just people's got to remember who it is or what it is that is doing it. So even if it wasn't your face, right, it's got to be some type of company's face or nonprofit's face that is selling people, in quotes, air quotes for people that are listening, to believe in what you're doing is honest work and not just trying to sell them into the system.
Right.
I'm curious, I feel like I have a pretty vivid visual of the vibe, when you set up shop and people come in and you have these
Well,
interactions.
check the Insta out, bro.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, this is a great time to plug it. Hold on, folks. Let me plug in my laptop charger so that our recording doesn't croak.
Yeah, this might be an edited spot.
Yeah.
Or we just go.
Or not. Or we just, I see what happens.
So I just put up the Instagram, but I'm going to put the remaining events on there just so you know.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now we're back.
I mean, I found something on socials. It might have been Facebook too.
It's my Facebook
Okay.
that I have it, every event is on my Facebook.
Yeah, we usually wait till the very end, but this seems like a natural place to kind of plug the socials where folks can find you and connect and see for themselves all the awesome work you're doing.
Yes.
So it's Facebook. Just started the Insta, but I know. I mean, if you Google Q Pink Vote, it's just gonna pop up. You're gonna see a bunch of articles that were written in Winston-Salem Journal. You're gonna see other events that she has put on, other write-ups that she has been in. Did WRAL do something about the Pink Vote with you as well?
You said
WRAL. I feel like they might have done something.
They might have written on it, but I don't know anything about it.
That's how famous you are.
Yeah. They saw your face on the cover. I'm like, we need to find this girl.
So I'm curious, what's the response within the community? What have you heard from folks? What are some stories? I mean, if there's anything that sticks out to you in terms of folks coming to you and giving you.
Is it working?
That's a good.
Yes.
There we go.
So I was dropping my daughter off at school, and one of the parents approached me at morning drop off and said, "Someone had your cup, and I need to register to vote."
Whoa.
Just from my cup.
These cups are really.
That's why we keep investing into
Yeah,
them.
I was gonna,
because
I
they're
get
legit.
it. Yeah,
they're legit.
Don't ever run out of those cups.
Listen, I'm trying.
We should get cups, Quinn.
I'll make sure
Let's
I
help
give
her
you.
get some cups.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm saying let's get some of her cups.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you guys.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, we don't need our own cups. We need Q cups.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. The cups are working. The branding is working. Sometimes, so let's say I had an event in East Winston, and then at the edge of East Winston ending and it becoming North Winston, I'll have another event right there. So people who came to that first one will come to that second one, and that lets me know, yes, the vibe is right, because we got the DJ playing the cookout music, and we're actually having the food. But the fact that they're coming back and, hey, I've already registered and I know what I need to do, that's important to me.
If folks are double dipping like that honestly is the surest sign of success. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, and I get invited everywhere. I think that's what you
the
probably
other-
wanted to hear. The events are crazy. A lot of times I'll have 2 events in one day. So I'm breaking down this material because I love to give everyone as much of the same experience as possible. And so I'm breaking all of my my banners and all of that stuff down, and I'm taking it to the next location. And then while I'm at that location, someone says, "Well, I have an event. Can you come?"
Wow.
So, and it will have nothing to do. I was at a white party.
A white party.
Yes, when you wear all white.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay.
I was like,
Yeah. I was like, that could be a couple things. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was the thing was an all white party.
Gotcha.
And I was outside of the club registering people to vote.
Wow.
And so they were like, "Well, you can come inside. You don't have to be out here because it's going to get dark." I said, "No, because I want the oncoming traffic as well, because we were downtown." And the night was beautiful and everybody was outside. I think that night I registered maybe 62 people to vote.
That's a lot for folks who've never done voter registration.
That's a lot.
You guys have those are staggering numbers. I stood outside the local Walmart in 2012 when I was 16 registering voters for I think it was the Obama campaign I was out there with. I registered anybody. I registered some libertarians, some Republicans, but we were just out there registering people on a good day, on like a good 4-hour shift. 7 people? Like maybe I wasn't as persistent as I needed to be, but 60 people.
It goes back to what we were talking about earlier. You're probably just standing there with a clipboard.
Well, I'm standing there with a
balloon
clipboard.
arches,
People
food,
have got bags of
cups.
food. They're trying to get home. It's 6:15 on a Monday. So I think that probably has a lot to do with it. And here's like a little pasty white boy saying, "Ma'am, have you forgotten to vote?" And then I don't have balloons. I don't have delicious food.
Right.
So those are some impressive numbers. Those
I
really
try.
are. Yeah.
And connecting with people. And then someone saying, I don't believe I'm going to vote. I said, well, listen, how about this? You ultimately will make the decision whether you will vote at the end of the day, but at least be prepared. Don't go into the booth and have to register to vote at the same time. And then you're also in there trying to figure out who you want to cast your ballot for. And that was another reason why voter registration is so, it's a big thing for me, because when I was taking first-time voters to the poll, I was noticing that anxiety, because I'm like a peeper or something. I'm like standing out the door watching and making sure that they're good. Yeah. And I'm watching them, be a little nervous.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh gosh, I wish I would have gotten them registered first, because then they would only be focused on the ballot.
Right.
Because now they're in there having to go
Process
through
is
their
simpler.
wallet or whatever to find what they need to register them. And I said, I need to find a better way to do this.
What kind of impact? We didn't have this thing outlined, but I'm just curious. What kind of impact, if there has been an impact in your opinion, has the voter ID law had? Folks, is that causing a lot of confusion? Is it making our elections safer as claimed? What's your stance as somebody who's really involved in voter registration and voter turnout?
So when I first started this initiative, I was, because I'm nonpartisan, I just was for certain that the Board of Elections would partner with me and show up to my events with the voter ID. They do have their own dates and times and locations that they go to places, but the individuals that need these the most likely might not be there.
Yeah.
Or might not come, but they're definitely going to come to my event. I am a great promotional person, but I know that, it's the food, it's the music, it's the vibe.
Yeah.
I don't want to take too much credit. I want to be realistic, right? And how can I say this? I think that machine has set in the Board of Elections and not been utilized to its full capacity. And the fact that someone had to pay for it, I don't think is correct. I do understand them not wanting to partner with parties, but when someone non-affiliated approaches you for an opportunity to really get nice numbers for voter ID, why wouldn't you take that opportunity?
The machine you're referring to is just making people those IDs they can use.
Absolutely.
And what you were saying is that machine is not being used to its fullest extent. The folks who need those photo IDs so that they can practice their God-given American right to vote, there's a barrier there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Why would I go to the Board of Elections? I'm homeless. What do I need at the Board of Elections?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's I'm so glad I asked. Again, it wasn't our outline, but you were talking about it, and I was thinking this is a great opportunity because this is a topic. I'm teaching a civics class right now, and I actually had a talk yesterday about the digital ID thing at UNC right now, and kind of the contention surrounding that. And I started talking about that, then I realized oh my gosh, all these kids they don't even know about voter ID laws and kind of any of the debate surrounding that. And anyway, so to hear your feedback on it is really really helpful.
So this is on the same topic, right, of voting, but I think it really is going to be more of a race topic here. And so my question is, and this is from experience here in Alamance, we'll have a person of color run for office. And I think forever, I have always heard, but on the left side that, we need to get the black vote. We need to get the black vote, right? That is heard a lot, and we're hearing it now nationally, right? The only reason they picked Kamala is to get the black vote. But I think a misconception of white progressives and Democrats is we have a black candidate, that's our black vote,
Right.
They're going to pull the black vote, and I think that's wrong, and I think that's harmful to have that type of thinking. So my question then, Q, because you're going into these communities that are mainly people of color and registering them to vote and getting them to vote, even picking them up. How can people that are not Q, like Daniel and I, help in this initiative?
So I can assure you they're not going to get in the car with you.
Yeah.
But they would. So this is what I love about the Black and brown community is that if we know you and we've gotten to build that relationship with you, it doesn't matter what your race is. We will get in the car with you.
Right.
But if that relationship hasn't been built, then it's going to be far more difficult for you. I believe that if you want to build those relationships, then you have to be in the community. You have to be consistent in the work. Right. So when the election is not going on, I'm still finding ways to give back to my community, because when it's time to vote, I don't want to have to sit there and go down the list of, why you should or, anything like that. I want to be a trusted face and name. And so that's why my work is consistent. But if I continuously saw you in my community working at some level of capacity, giving back, showing a true care for my community, you would be able to come and pick me up and do that. And I want to let you know something. There are Black candidates that can't go into those same neighborhoods and can't pick people up because they don't know you. You haven't done the work.
Yeah, that's so real, is the continuing of going back. When I first started getting into politics and becoming an elected official, one of the first things I did when I campaigned, you go around to all the churches, and then you go to all around the historically Black churches. And one of my friends told me, one of my colleagues, he was like, you know what, Quinn? The Black churches, they real hip on when white people only come around every 4 years.
Talk about it.
And so, that really resonated with me, to try to just make sure I continue. Because the last thing I want, because I feel like, and it still is, again, white Democrats, white progressive, pander the Black vote far too much, and we need to make sure, because when you have Francis knocking on your door trying to register you to vote, they're like, the hell are you doing here? and it feels like that, right? So I understand why there isn't a big turnout or trust involved in this. And so, Daniel and I started this podcast to help lift up voices like yours and to get people out. But, I feel like we're always trying to do more. And we would love to kind of come to one of your events and maybe set up live and see what people are doing and talking. Just why are they coming to vote? Or why are they coming to register to vote? It's not just for the food or the hype and the fun. I mean, that's an extra to it. Yeah. But what is leading them to this moment? Because you talked about it in the very beginning, trying to find those stories to connect people to why they need to vote or why voting matters. So can you share like some of those stories that you've told people or connections to get people to be like, right, I need to effing vote?
Yeah, that'd be really helpful for me, actually. I've been trying to talk. I've just started the process of sending out all those texts and calling people and be like, hey, like, how you doing, dude? Great. Listen, are you voting? Like kind of touching my immediate circle, my friends and stuff. And there are a couple of folks, for the most part, everybody's voting. They got a plan to vote. But I've talked to two people who are giving me I'm just not very political. I just don't really do politics. And it's not even like I don't like either candidate. It's more of just like, meh. And how do you... what do you do?
I have a multifaceted strategy that I use. So the first thing I want to do is to acknowledge women of action. 90% of the volunteers that help me, because I get bum rushed, right? So I need volunteers, are Caucasian, and I love it. Especially my Caucasian candidates, especially when they come and it's not in their district, in their ward, and you know that they're there just to support the movement. Valerie, Marcy, I mean, they are there to support that movement, right? No benefit to them.
It's not about getting
anything,
votes,
but seeing constituents get registered. So
that's super cool.
So one of my ways is that I went to Habitat for Humanity, and I'm a realtor. And people thought I was coming there for real estate, but no, I was coming there for voting. I was invited. Mike Purcell was so, excited about what I was doing, he invited me to come and talk to the current class of individuals who are working towards home ownership. And the first thing I did was I pulled all of their voter registrations up, right? And many of them were inactive, and they said, doesn't have anything to do with me. Well, then I explained to them the program that you're in right now. If our city council, if our county commissioners didn't support it, there would be no Habitat for Humanity in Forsyth County. So this is how much politics is embedded in your life right now.
What do people say to that? What is the response?
They appreciated that because what I don't know, I can't consider.
Right.
What I don't know, I cannot consider. And that program has made thousands of our citizens in Forsyth County homeowners who might have otherwise not been.
Yeah.
How major is that? And if we have people who are elected who do not support that program could go away. So this is why it's important for you to use your voice and to vote, because after you get your home, you want to be able to make sure that someone else behind you is able to do so as well. So that's how I connected it for the participants in the Habitat for Humanity.
And you connected it locally too. It's
Yeah.
not like, Kamala or Trump. They're not funding this.
Right.
This is the neighbor down the way that's potentially going to fund this.
Yes. And so I have all of these unique ways of how I explain things to where I feel like certain particular cultures will understand it. So how I speak to my young Hispanic and Latina Latin voters is I do speak a decent amount of Spanish, and if I can't do it, I call my best friend who is Spanish, and I have her translate, but I employ them. I tell them how important it is for them to be able to exercise their vote because their parents may not be in a position to do so. And if they don't, then there's people who will be put in places who will think that you are an alien. And so I don't know if you guys are going to bleep me out, but I always say, what the fuck is an alien? You're a human being.
I love fuck. I love saying fuck.
I think this
Gosh,
is
this is great.
This is one of the few times, if not the first time, we've had a guest say
It's
fuck
definitely
on the show.
the first time that a guest has said
Yeah.
it, and it's awesome. I've
No,
been
it
waiting
is
for
awesome.
it. Oh, this is so good.
Yeah. Well, I said it in like the first 5 minutes of a recent recording, and I felt like immediately like it kind of shook the tenor of the conversation, and I didn't think anything about it. So anyway, I really appreciate. That was great.
Yeah, I do have a bit of a party mouth. But
Fuck yeah, Q.
So that's how I talk to them, and I get them to understand that if you want to be a part of pushing for human rights, you have to vote.
HB 10
You
right
have
now.
to. And I explain that to them, right? And so, and it's always great when it's someone who, because like sometimes I'm speaking to a group of kids who do speak English, but not that much. And so then I'll get the one out of the group who speaks English proficiently and then also Spanish, and then they'll help me translate. So now they're hearing me say it, but now they just heard their friends say it.
I imagine this is probably not an inactive voter that you encounter very often, but I'm wondering, let's say you were to encounter a person with this profile. I'm curious what you would say to them. A person who their rights are not on the chopping block in the typical election cycle. Let's just say middle-aged white dude, making high six figures. I don't know, maybe even seven figures. Like somebody who is just well insulated in terms of their rights financially. They're not, again, rights are not on the chopping block.
A little role playing here. Okay, let's go.
This is not me. Can very much tell you, not me. But what I'm curious is, if this person is saying, well, I'm taken care of, I'm not really worried, my family is taken care of, like I've looked out for mine. I just don't want to. I don't want to get involved. That to me seems. I'm just curious because that to me seems like a really. I don't know what I would say to that person. I mean, I would attempt to say something like, well, we're all connected and, we have a responsibility to look out for one another. And just, I'm glad that maybe you're set up and that's nice and everything for you, but we have a responsibility to, pull each other up and make sure that we're all taken care of. But I don't feel like that's very persuasive. It is to me, but I don't know.
Well, if that person has that mindset, I personally probably wouldn't register them to vote because they're probably not going to vote the way I want them to vote.
Well,
So I will tell you guys, that's only happened to me one time. Only one time. And so I do have two different approaches for that. This is my phrase, and I talked about this when I went to Terry LeGrand's program. She invited me to come and speak and to help encourage and train her friends
shout
how to
out
canvas.
to Terry LeGrand.
She had like 60 people in the room. She's the bomb, right? And I told them, we want to be passionate but never pushy. Sometimes, and it pains me, I have to walk away when someone says very firmly, I do not want to do this, because the last thing I want to do is make them feel like, we're just hard up. Now, in my mind, because I'm a little bit of cocky, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to find 10 more people to get active for this to replace your vote. I don't say it to them, but I say it to myself. But then, so let me tell you about the story. So I was at the all-white party, meaning attire.
Right.
And it was a young,
Not a seasonless food.
No. Jesus. So I'm at the party.
Yeah, I was.
I'm dying over here.
Good.
Close the casket. Okay, so you can tell this guy was very well-to-do, because when he originally pulled up, because I'm outside, he was in a very nice car and he was looking for parking. And so he, was financially well off.
Yeah.
And he told me that he didn't want to vote. And so sometimes I try a little bit of trickery, right?
Okay.
And I said, how dare you? And then when he came back outside after the party was over, he did register to vote. And he said, I want you to know this doesn't mean I'm going to vote. He said, but I'm going to register with you. And so sometimes I just try reverse psychology. Like I just, it's been working for me so far. It doesn't always work. I'm probably about 8 out of 10, but I try reverse psychology. I mean, I even have voters who will say, you don't want to register me because I'm voting for Trump. I say, be like Nike and do it.
Yeah.
But will you also
Make my
register with
day.
me? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to find those creative ways, because sometimes talking to someone about the logistics isn't going to work. Beating them over the head is not going to work. So sometimes I just try a little bit of foolery.
Just calling their bluff and just be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, whatever. So what if you do? Yeah.
Exactly. Because
yeah.
what I want you to do is to be prepared. I want you to have that 50% preparation before you go into that booth to vote. And they typically say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and register. And I know that's the way I've started the fire.
Yeah.
And it's always my hope that it stays lit long enough to get them to the polls.
So we're coming up on time here.
That's a great segue.
And just one last question, I guess. When did Pink Vote start, and how many people have you registered to vote?
It actually started June of this year, and we have registered 772 as of yesterday.
That's impressive.
That's amazing. And folks, that number right there could flip a few elections. I mean, that right there.
And that's all in Forsyth County?
That's
Because
Okay,
I'm at the bus station. I was down I did voter registration in front of the courthouse. Yeah. So you got to imagine those people are coming from different parts.
Yeah.
So I've registered people in Stokes County, Gifford County, Manchester. Never heard of that. I mean, and so what I do is I send those registrations to the North Carolina State Board of Elections so that they can get entered in, because I wouldn't drop those off at the Forsyth County Board of Elections.
Yeah.
Because they won't. We go through them and they'll say, oh, you got another Gifford County. And so I send those to the state so that they can be entered in.
772 people in a few months.
Well, I'm thinking of Sherry Beasley's election, 2020, when she was Supreme Court and she lost to Paul Newby by just 400 votes, 400 and more.
And some
Yeah,
change, yep.
exactly. I mean, so that there's that, and then some, and then I'm thinking of all these other local elections. I mean, your election, Quinn.
Yeah.
I mean, these come down to a couple hundred votes, a couple dozen votes, and in some cases, occasionally you have that come up. So you really fair to say that statistically you have really influenced election outcomes in the best possible way by getting people to go out and exercise their God-given right to make their voices heard.
Fuck
Yes.
yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, there we go. So we've already kind of plugged your socials. People can find you on Facebook, Instagram. Honestly, guys, just go Google QUE, the Pink Vote, and you will learn a lot, and you'll be very impressed. And before we sign off, we do have a special gift for you. Every guest of the Hometown Holler. We don't have cups. We don't have our special cups with Quinn and I's smiling
faces.
mugs. Yeah, but we do have a really sexy T-shirt. I mean, it is awesome. It's
Sexy.
yeah, it's I say that I'm partial to it because it's got our logo on it. But it's made by TS Designs. They're our county's premier apparel company. They are based here in Alamance County, and they have an ethical, fair trade, fair pay, organic cotton supply chain that's all within the Carolinas. So it's clothing that did not come 20,000 miles away from a giant supply chain and was involved in forced labor and that kind of thing. The people who print the shirt. They know the farmers. They know the people who grow the cotton, who gin the cotton, who make the shirts, and then they dye the shirts. So it's a shirt that I tell people I feel good in the shirt and I feel good about the shirt.
Come on now.
And it's really, and I love that we get to give this gift to our guests. It's like it's kind of like the food. It's like I didn't just pick this up at Walmart, right? This is like something that like I'm proud to give to you. It's like I'm giving you our best, and so I think it's a sentiment. It's very much in line with what you share with the people that you work with and the people you serve in your community. So we're excited to give you that shirt. And I think that's that. I mean, is anything else that I'm missing, Quinn?
No, I think that's it. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
This was great. This was
Thank you.
fantastic. Yeah.
And let's stay in touch and let's continue registering 772 more people before Election Day.
I'm trying.
All right, y'all. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.